older socialist writing, you can often see signs of resentment, envy, anger, exulting in the destruction that the socialist revolution will bring, how those capitalists will finally get what's coming to them. And I find that for me, what is most illuminating is Nietzsche's concept of ressentiment. Ressentiment in the French is close to the English resentment, but it's got kind of a more curdled bitterness. It's more seething and poisoned and bottled up for a long time. That's ressentiment. I want to use Nietzsche against postmodernists for a change. Nietzsche uses the concept of ressentiment in the context of developing his famous account of master and slave morality. Master morality for Nietzsche is the morality of the vigorous, life-loving, strong. It's the morality of those who love adventure, delight in creativity, in their own sense of purposefulness and assertiveness. Slave morality is the morality of the weak, the humble, those who feel weak, victimized, afraid to venture forth into the big bad world. Weaklings are the chronically passive, largely because they are afraid of the strong. As a result, the weak feel frustrated. They can't get what they want out of life. They become envious of the strong, and they also secretly start to hate themselves for being so cowardly and weak. But no one can live thinking that he or she is deeply hateful. And so the weak invent a rationalization that tells them they are the good and the moral because they are weak, humble, passive. Humility is a virtue. And so is being on the side of the weak and the downtrodden, people just like you. And so, of course, the opposites of those things must be the evil: aggressiveness, pride, independence, being physically and materially successful. Eventually, the smart weakling will feel such a combination of self-loathing and envy of his enemies that he will need to lash out. He will feel the urge to hurt in any way he can his hated enemy. But of course, he can't risk direct physical confrontation. He's a weakling. His only weapons are words. Now, in our time, the capitalists are the strong, the exuberant, the active. For a while in the past century, socialists could believe that the revolution was coming, that woe would come to them that are rich and blessed would be the poor. But that hope has been dashed cruelly. Socialism is the loser, and if the socialists know that, they will hate that fact. They will hate the winners for having won, and they will hate themselves for having picked the losing side. Hate, as a chronic condition, leads to the urge to destroy. But again, your only weapons are words. How can you use words to destroy? I think the whole idea of deconstruction comes out of this. Postmodernism is populated by large numbers of people who like the idea of deconstructing other people's work. It's the opposite of constructing something of your own. Now consider parallel examples from the world of visual art. I think the visual art world was a little ahead of the postmodernists this century. Asked to submit something for display at the Art Institute of Chicago, Marcel Duchamp sends a urinal, which is then displayed. This makes a statement about art. Art is something you piss on. Or there's the painter de Kooning's version of the Mona Lisa, a reproduction he makes of Leonardo's masterpiece with a cartoonish mustache added. Now that too makes a statement. Here's an achievement I can't hope to equal, and so I'll turn it into a joke. I'll, in effect, destroy it. So you become a bully and a thug, not because it destroys something bad, but just because it feels good to wreck something. So if words are your weapons now, and you want to destroy the achievements of Western civilization, especially the Enlightenment, how do you do it? Well, consider a more personal case. If you hate someone and you want to hurt him, hit him where it counts. Do you want to hurt a man who loves his children and hates child molesters? What would be the worst thing you could say about such a guy? Well, accuse him publicly of child molesting. Or better yet, spread sneaky rumors that he's a child molester. Do you want to hurt a woman who takes pride in her independence? Spread through the gossip grapevine that she married the man she did because he's wealthy. Now, the truth or the falsity here of the rumors doesn't matter, and whether you believe them yourself doesn't matter, and whether the people you believe them or tell them to really believe them doesn't matter. They get out there and they do their damage. What matters is that you score a direct hit in the psyche of your enemy, your target person. You know that the accusations and the rumors are going to cause some tremors, even if they come to nothing. And you get that wonderfully dark glow inside of knowing that you did it. Right? Now let's bring it back to then the Western tradition. The Western tradition, it prides itself on its commitment to equality, justice, open-mindedness, making opportunity available to all. The West is proud, full of itself, confident, and it knows that it's the wave of the future. This is unbearable to someone who is totally invested in an opposite and failed outlook. And so that pride is what you want to destroy. Your best bet then is to attack the West's sense of its own moral worth. Attack it as racist and sexist then, as inherently dogmatic and cruelly exploitative. Undermine it at the core. The words don't have to be true in order to do their damage. And so I don't think it's accidental that postmodernism has launched the kinds of attacks on the core values of the West, and it's done so knowing full well that the accusations it's making are not true. It's a psychological compulsion in some cases, and so that allows you to hold the contradiction. You can be an absolutist in your assertions, and you can assert the relativism, and it just doesn't matter. As long as it's harming someone, right, your enemy, that's fine. That's the final explanation. My final hypothesis here, I call it the nihilist explanation for obvious reasons. I think some postmodernists, the worst of them in many ways, are individuals of deep ressentiment psychologically, and that the combination of alienation, bitterness, envy, and rage leads them to lashing out with an intent to destroy any aspect of culture that seems to them to be the opposite.